In this video, we are going to look at how we make a magic knot. That does not pull out. Sorry, I'm pulling that really tight. I don't know if you can see how thin that's pulling the yarn. I'm pulling that really tight and it's not moving. That's what we're going to make. Today we're going to look at making a magic knot. You'll hear it referred to. I'm pretty certain there's another name for it, but I know it as a magic knot, so that's what I'm going to call it. I've using two different colours so that it's easy for you to see. But you would use this knot, maybe if you were coming to the end of, so you're making a blanket and you're coming to the end of a ball of yarn, and you've got another piece of yarn to attach to it, and then rather than having to just attach it as normal and then sew in all the ends, this is a way of doing that. Okay, so I want you to imagine that what we're going to do is we're going to have these two pieces and we're going to be knotting them over each other. Now, the way that we do that is we're going to take one piece and we're going to come underneath and round. In fact, I'll just get that a bit bigger so it's easy for you to see what you're looking at. And it twists underneath. It's a bit like a pretzel, so when you look at it, so looking at the pink one, it becomes a bit like a pretzel and it wraps itself like a pretzel around the other piece. So hopefully you can see that. I'm going to pull a bit more of the green through, and then we're going to do exactly the same with the green one on the pink yarn, and we are going to wrap that. So I'm going over, I'm bringing it back on itself and I'm bringing it through. So again, I have another pretzel shape here. So you see that? I shall bring them a bit closer together. So one pretzel shape and another pretzel shape. Yep. Now, what I'm going to do with this one is I am going to tighten this pretzel around the straight yarn, so the yarn that is not being pretzeled at the moment. Then I'll do the same thing on the other section, so I'm going to tighten this one and make it as tight as I possibly can. Then I have two knots on this end and on this end, and I'm pulling on each of the ends of yarn, so not the tail ends but the working ends, and I'm going to pull them together. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Then now I always, when I'm cutting these, just leave a little bit of length on, and I'll explain why. So I've pulled them tight, and I've pulled them, so I pulled the knots tight, and I've pulled the knots tight, and then I've pulled the two knots together tightly. Then I'm going to cut this, leaving just a little smidge of yarn at the end. So hopefully you can see that I've cut that, and there's just a tiny whisper of a tail at the end, and I do that because then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull it really, really tight. And so what will happen, oh, hopefully you can see how tight that is. So what will happen is sometimes that will just pull through a smidge more yarn. You can see with the pink it has, not so much on the green, but with the pink it has. And if it's too short, if it's cut right down to the edge, it will pull it clear. Now I'm going to trim that off carefully. I don't need to do that for the pink, that's close enough. And then that is now, I don't know if you can see, I'm really pulling that tight. That's going nowhere. So if I was making a blanket and I had like 6 balls of yarn, I could do that for each one, and I would only still have a beginning and an end tail to actually weave in. It doesn't take as long as it normally takes me no more than 30 seconds, I would say, to be able to do that. And it's a really, really secure knot. So have a practice. I needed to practice quite a bit. It didn't come naturally to me, and I had to go and have a look at how to do it a few times before I actually got it. So don't feel like you know, it's one and done with this. You probably will have to come back and have a look at it until you've done it a few times. So maybe save the video so you don't have to keep coming into the group or going onto YouTube to see it. If you're able to, that might be worthwhile if it's going to be something you're going to do sort of regularly enough that you need it, but not regularly enough that you've remembered it just yet. Okay,